Greetings, hello, I'm Skyla, and I'm obsessed with history. Today we're going to be talking about the history of the alphabet. Have you ever wondered where did those silly letters come from? The ones that you look at every day and read and write and communicate with. Well, essentially, they came from the Roman alphabet, but we're going to follow that backwards to the original source all the way to Egyptian hieroglyphs because that is the true source of the alphabet that you use today. So, going all the way back years ago, the Egyptians developed the use of hieroglyphs. Now, when the Egyptians used hieroglyphs, each hieroglyph could represent the word itself or the beginning of the sound of the word. So it really just depended on the context of the sentence, how much space the artist had to write with, and the importance of the word itself on what type of hieroglyph was going to be used. Now, there were a group of people in the Middle East called the Phoenicians. The Phoenicians was in the land of Canaan, which is just above Israel. All of the languages that use the alphabet, every language in Europe uses the alphabet, but all the languages in Europe that use the alphabet, they most likely use a type of Roman alphabet. But it's not just the Europeans. The Middle Easterns, such as the Hebrew and Arabic and Aramaic, which originally was spoken in biblical times, they all adopted this Phoenician alphabet. And we get the word phonetic, from Phoenicians. Now, the Phoenicians, they didn't speak the same language as the Egyptians, obviously. But they said, I like this idea of the hieroglyphs, but we're going to simplify it, make it a little bit easier, and we're going to adapt it to our sounds of our words. So they took Egyptian hieroglyphs and the sounds that correlated with the sounds that their language made. So the Egyptian alphabet is not going to be the same as the Phoenician alphabet, but the Egyptian hieroglyphs inspired the letters that were used. So let's take a look at the Phoenician alphabet. Now, for example, the letter A in Egyptian, that word was aleph, and it meant ox. So the Phoenicians took the symbol, the hieroglyph for ox, which looks similar to an upside down A, and they turned it sideways. And then the Greeks adopted the Phoenician language, and then they turned it right side up. And if you don't know, the Romans copied almost everything that the Greeks did, even their religion. They just slapped their own name on something. But basically, the Romans and the Greeks worshiped the same gods. They just had different names. Anyways, the same thing goes with the alphabet, because if you go in the order of how it started, it was Egyptian hieroglyphs, then it was the Phoenician alphabet, and then the Greeks adopted the Phoenician alphabet into their own language, and the Etruscans adopted the Greek alphabet, and then the Romans adopted the Etruscan alphabet. So essentially, they were still adopting the Greek alphabet. So everyone was playing copycat to the Phoenicians, and ultimately the Phoenicians were inspired by the Egyptians in creating their letters. So every day when you are writing or reading a message and you're using the alphabet, you're using the remnants of Egyptian hieroglyphs. Another example is the letter B. It looked like a box with a little opening in it, and it bet is the word, and it meant house. So when the Phoenicians took that, they turned it into, I don't know how they decided to do this, but they made it a triangle with a curved line at the bottom. And eventually, when the Romans got a hold of it, it ended up being the curved two humps to make the capital B. Another letter that was originally an Egyptian hieroglyph was the letter M. In Egyptian, the word water was mem, and they would do squiggly lines, like a little wave that represented like a ripple in the water. And the Phoenicians adopted that, but they put like a ripple with a line coming down. And eventually the line was taken off and it was just an M. And the Greeks did the same thing, and the Romans and the Etruscans. And here we are with the letter M, but originally it meant water. So I hope you enjoyed learning this quick little lesson on how not necessarily language, but how the alphabet has evolved through different languages out of the Middle East and North Africa up into Europe. It's amazing how much ancient Egypt has influenced the written language that we speak.